My name is Sonia Bose. I'm Ted Cruz's aunt. I'm originally from Cuba, and I came to the United States in 1962, moved to Austin, and then after a year came to Dallas. I currently live in Dallas, Texas.
Let's do that one more time. I'll ask you. Wait for me to prompt you
Okay.
so we don't talk over each other, okay? Please introduce yourself.
My name is Sonia Bose. I'm the aunt of Ted Cruz. I'm originally from Cuba. Came to the United States in 1962 to Austin, Texas, and after a year there moved to Dallas, where I now live.
Tell me about your life in Cuba in the years prior to coming to the United States.
I tell you, was very interested prior to Castro. We had a great life, living with my brother and my mother and father, and I had a great life there. I became a teacher, and after Castro took over, we started having problems with the revolution and understanding that Castro was, his idea was communist. So I came to the United States looking for freedom.
And what part did you play in the anti-Castro movement?
I was involved since 17 years old fighting against Castro, and actually I went to the hills to fight against him. When Bay of Pigs came over, we just left the house. I left the house, went to the hills to fight against him, and was in the hills for many months until I came to the United States. I was fighting with all the rebels.
Tell me some specific stories of things you did with the rebels.
For example, we slept on the floor in the hills while we were all the rebels in there. You could see that they were burning all the fields, and they were getting closer to us, so we was moving from one end to the other, trying to get away from everybody. And it was very difficult. The majority of those people are now dead, and I was safe by being able to hide in cave and going from one end to the other, trying to get away from all of them.
When did you first realize that Castro was not a Democrat as he had advertised himself?
Actually, almost at the beginning. Right at the beginning, we start.
We realized
Okay.
that he was not a Democrat right from the beginning.
Right. We realized that he was not a Democrat right at the beginning. He started having ideas that it was totally against democracy. It's just everything is whatever he dictated, everything was whatever his idea was. It was nothing that we could have the liberty to say what we feel, what we like, what we dislike. It was all his idea. And we immediately began to realize that it was definitely a complete change from our country.
And, cut 1 second.
In fact, one of the things that we used to do, we used to carry arms from one place to the other one. We carried bombs, we carried grenades, we carried rifles, and many times I was in the city in the middle of the night carrying the arms from one group to the other, and one of the most unbelievable thing that is being able to come over to my house. I haven't seen my parents in many months, and I was able to go over to my house in the middle of the night and see my mother, and we were carrying arms to another group of people that were close to our city, and the most grateful part of that is seeing my mother and my father in the middle of the night because they was not expecting us. So. But many times it was close to being put in jail by people that they were running after us. And it was very difficult to be moving in the city knowing that there were people following us everywhere. I recall one day we were carrying a set of bombs to another city, and we were being followed by the police, so we stopped at a nightclub. And they didn't recognize us, of course. And we start dancing and singing and playing, and they sat there while we were in the restaurant or in the club until they left, and we were able to successful carry the bombs to the other city. So There's one time I was in the city, and we were a group of students that were sitting in the front porch of a house, and the police stopped, and they called my name, and I said, I am here. So, will you come with us? And they put me in jail. They threw us, all of us, in the floor, and there were even teachers that went to school with me that they were in that jail. And I was there for about 3 days. And that's a very, I'm gonna have to have some water. They took us to prison. The prison was close to the house where I was at, and they went and got my father. There was on a specific time that I was carrying a bomb on my skirt, and we have to set it up at the same time in the city. There was 3 colleges that the bomb was going to explode in each one of the colleges, and I was able to change it and give it to another girl because I was carrying, but I knew they were waiting for me at the school as soon as I walk in. So when I walk in, they immediately put me aside and start checking me out to see if I have any lighter or if I have any cigarettes with me or if I have anything with me. So they couldn't find anything. So the first thing they did is we went to class, and out of the class, we could not get out of the class at any time that it was not a period of rest. So the bomb exploded, and immediately they came over to where I was, and they took me and they helped me. They took me to a room, and they said I have to undress. They want to make sure that I didn't have anything on me, and I said, I can't believe you're going to make me undress in front of all of you. They said, well, you got to do that. We got to make sure that you don't have anything on you. So the bomb was successfully exploded in my college as well as 2 other colleges in the city. They couldn't find anything on me, but they took me about 3 o'clock. They took me in a Jeep, and they were going to take me to a prison that it was Hope for Women, and they say they were going to they were going to cut my hair and shave my head, and they're going to keep me there. And I said, fine, if you want to do that, do that. I didn't do anything. So finally, they ended up taking me back to the house because they couldn't find anything on me. So they kept me there for many days without being able to go out. I couldn't go out of the house at any time. I thought that it was very important to defeat Castro because of the freedom that we previously have. We enjoy the freedom of speech, being able to say and act and do what we need to do. The liberty that we have, like we have in this country, is something that we pressingly need, and it was very critical that we defeated Castro. When I came to the United States, I came in with false papers, and one of the things that I recall is being in Miami and being asked on the speaker who came in with false paper, and of course I wouldn't talk because I was afraid they'd take me back to Cuba. So finally, they came in and got me, and I said, you came in with false paper. The falsification of the paper was done by a very good friend of mine that now lives in Dallas. And I came to Austin, lived with my brother for a year there, and it was a tough time for all of us. We didn't have any money. He was going to school. My parents was not able to send him money, so it was a tough situation for us to leave. Finally, my brother finishes college, and we moved to Dallas. And then came Ted. And Ted was a very smart young kid. I know he was very afraid of the chancleta. Chancleta is like sandals that he knew when I get mad, I would throw the chancleta at him. And he was always running away from me, but he was a very, very happy kid, very smart. We couldn't believe how smart the kid was. I recall one of the instances when he stayed with me, his parents were going to Hawaii, or to Vegas, actually, and he was gonna stay with me for a week there. And he was always fun, leave the house full of life, but he was always trying to do things that aggravate me. So I was running around with the chancleta in my hands trying to get after him. He ran, and I threw the chancleta at him, but I didn't get it. He turned around and said, you didn't get me, you didn't get me. So he was a very enjoyable kid, very.
How long did he live with you?
He was on and off with, he lived with us on and off for almost 3 months. And it was a great time with him. We had a great time. It was difficult, but being a single mom, being a single mother is very difficult. It was tough because I know I have to make it happen. I was here to give my daughter and my parents the best life of all, and I needed to succeed. So I tried. I did many things. I can tell you anybody in this country can do whatever they want to. It's up what you have inside of you. I know I have to give my daughter a good life, and I think I fulfilled that by working hard and living in a country that gives you the opportunity to do whatever you need to do. My relationship with Ted has always been great. I love him. I love him. I think he's a son to me as well. Since we've been together for all his life, he's always been part of us. He's like a brother to my daughter, and my relationship with him is excellent. I am very proud of him. I'm proud of his belief, of the loyalty, the trust that he put on his idea, and I think he's a wonderful man. If Ted became the first Hispanic president, I think I will be the most proudly aunt anybody can ever have. Since he was little, I was telling him that he will become a president of the United States. I recall him when my daughter was 15 years old, the still 10-year-old kid. It was surrounded with a whole bunch of men, so I was trying to figure out what was going on there. I was even giving a party to my daughter, and I couldn't believe that group of men, so I went over there to see what was going on. And I still have that picture, but you can see Ted in the center of all of those grown men talking about the Constitution of the United States. He is incredible. I always thought that he will get there, and I hope he become the first Hispanic president of the United States. Por supuesto. Recuerdo cuando mi sobrino tenía como 10 años, yo le estaba haciendo una fiesta a mi hija por sus 15 años y recuerdo que había un grupo de hombres alrededor de un niño y no podía pensar qué estaba pasando. Digo, a lo mejor él hizo algo malo. Entonces fui a estar allí y me encuentro que él estaba rodeado de como 12 hombres, donde él estaba contando la Constitución de los Estados Unidos y me maravillé pensando que un día mi sobrino podía ser el presidente de los Estados Unidos. Siempre pensé, y espero que sea el primer presidente que este país tenga que ser hispano. Porque tiene creencias. Yo creo que mi sobrino sería un gran presidente para los hispanos por sus creencias, por sus raíces, que conoce la vida de nosotros, que conoce la vida de los hispanos, que sabe que quiere lo mejor para ellos, que nada se nos puede dar de gratis, que en la vida todo necesita el impulso de una persona para poder llegar a algo. Mi sobrino entiende esas leyes, entiende esos conocimientos, tiene esos conocimientos. O sea, para los hispanos sería maravilloso que él fuera el primer presidente, que los ayude a ellos a llegar a algo. Una de las cosas más importantes que quiero realizar y decirles a los hispanos que por favor cualquier cosa que le puedan hacer, que puedan soportar su campaña para llegar a ser presidente, él entiende las ideas de los latinos, él entiende las ideas de los hispanos, él sabe dónde queremos llegar, él los entiende a ellos. Por favor, ayúdenos aunque sea con $5. Él le llegará a ustedes a realizar las cosas que sean necesarias. It was very difficult understanding that we could not do the things that we used to do in the past. We didn't have the freedom of speech. We didn't have the freedom of doing what we needed to do. We couldn't talk. We couldn't go out anywhere without being followed. So I started getting involved in selling there's some selling of items that we could take to the rebels and collect money so we can take to the rebels. Then I got with a group of people in the school, and we were going to try to do everything that we needed to try to create some revolution inside of the school. So we start setting up making bombs. We start making the bombs. We did it ourselves. We did it at a church, and we used Marlboro packages. We put all the things inside the detonator, and we put the uh, we create them. So we pass it around. We took it to places, different places in the city, and we try to create. Of course, we try to do this when there was nobody around, where there are no people that we could hurt. We never try to hurt anybody, and we didn't. So in school, you couldn't be out of class. So you have to be in class at all time. You were not allowed to get out, not even for a break, unless they allowed you to come into a break. So we set up bumps everywhere, in department stores. Sugar cane is another thing that we did. We create ping pong, and those ping pong balls were full of a liquid, and when you threw it, the sugar cane fills start going in flame. So we knew we live in a house that had a fire department in. So we knew the guy that would run in to try to stop the fire. So when he was coming in, we were setting fire on the right-hand side. So he was coming this way, taking down the fires, so we were going out the other direction, setting up fires. So that's how we did it. We create that momentum of being against Castro and create that situation in our cities that they knew something was going on. We were against him, and we wanted to show it up. Right. One of the things that we did is create some ping pong balls that when you threw it and it get into, when you threw the ping pong ball, it created fire. So we were going in the car and we were driving around, a group of us. So we start throwing those ping pong balls to the sugarcane field, and they became on fire. So where we live, they have the fire department. So the guy that was with the fire department came in and was trying to turn down the fire on one side of the road, but we were going in the other direction, instigating more fires. And we did that almost everywhere in, not only in our city, but different cities in Cuba.
And why were you burning sugar?
We were trying to create that, we start burning the sugar cane to create that momentum that we were against them. We were trying to show them that we were against the revolution, that we were against what Castro was doing, taking people to the fields to cut sugar cane without having to, you were obligated to go and cut the. It was actually after Castro took over. It was very, of course, the first few weeks was all the excitement of the people being happy because there was going to be a change. Castro was all about changing, creating something new. Let's create something different. Let's create the changes. Let's give everybody the opportunity to be somebody. And that's when we start seeing, you start taking things for the wealthy people and the people that live in the country that never wanted to be somebody. They will want to bring those people and give them part of your house and give him part of what you have that you earn. For example, Ted's grandfather, since he was younger, he decided he wanted to become somebody. So he came to the city and create something for himself. But his family did not want to do anything, so his family stayed in the country. So my father always helped them. But when we start seeing the changes that he was doing and taking away from the poor, what he calls poor, but it's people that didn't want to do anything with their life. When we saw them taking that away and taking it from the rich and giving it to the people, it created that animosity between all the Cuban people, and it created a lot of problem with the. It then changed drastically immediately.
Talk about your parents.
My parents were wonderful. My father was he worked at a TV where Leonard is electronic equipment, refrigerators, is a very famous store in Matanzas. And my mother was a teacher. One of the things that affected my mother tremendously is she was told to teach the history of Fidel Castro. So my mother was an excellent teacher. I've been a teacher for many years. She was told to change the way she taught the students and start teaching them the history of Castro. She couldn't do it. There was a history in Cuba, not the history of Fidel Castro. I recall she had a briefcase, a brown briefcase, and she didn't have any money to buy a pair of shoes, so my father made a pair of shoes with her briefcase so she'd be able to finish the last few days. She was able to take a leave of absence because she got real nervous and she couldn't teach anymore. It was terrible. She suffered a lot. First, because of the changes that were obligating her to do things that she would never do. And second, when I disappeared from the house, I went to the hills, and the many times I was put in jail before that.
Talk about growing up in Cuba, what it was like being born in Cuba and growing up in Cuba as a little girl.
It was beautiful. When I was growing up in Cuba, it was beautiful time, beautiful life. We get up in the morning, we were across the ocean, we get in the boat. Ted's father and myself got on a boat and we go out fishing and we had a great life. Everything was great. You know, we enjoyed our life. We go every Sunday to a picnic and the whole family will get together. It was a beautiful life until Castro took over. Oh my God, I remember when my brother was put in jail. That's what during Batista's government. I remember then going into the backyard of our house when they came and picked him up, and all these guys with rifles and digging into the backyard, and I was screaming to them. I say, take me, don't take him. Be man enough and take me. And of course, I was really mad that they were taking him. So when they took him in the Jeep, I was right after them screaming in the middle of the street, take me, you're not a man if you don't take me. So it was really incredible, but we didn't see Ted's father for a long time, and I recall the clothes that he had on. He had a white pair of pants, and I probably was about 10 years old. I don't recall that time, and he had a black shirt, and the last time when we saw him again, his pants was all red, full of blood. His t-shirt was all tearing, and you can say he was bloody all over. I remember my father bringing him home late at night, and I never forget the vision of seeing Ted's father really hurt. And then my father did not allow him to even go to the front door again because he was afraid if they take him again, we will not see him anymore. I felt when I saw my brother again, it's just a life came back to me, but I was afraid. I was afraid that they would kill him. So we were really terrified that they will come back and get him and they will kill him, but we were very happy. My mother was very happy to see him, and I was concerned how much he was hurt because it was a white pant, it was totally full of blood. When I was a little girl and my brother was 14 and he started fighting against the Cuban Revolution, I wanted to do the same. I wanted to be able to help him because finally there were being somebody and I was a little girl, but I wanted to help him fight. And he was thinking there were going to be some changes coming to the Cuban people. He was the kind of guy that wanted to be something different. So I felt that I wanted to fight with him. That's what, when they took him and took him to prison, I felt really devastated because he was gone and not me. But I understood that I could not do it. I was too young to see how he was doing the things that he was doing. I remember when he was at the university in Santiago de Cuba, the other corner of the island, They were something, I think was an attack in one of the places in Santiago, and my brother was coming in with three guys from the university, and they put him in jail because they were afraid that these guys were into something. He was able to get out of that one too and come to the city. But I recall all my life thinking, I want to fight. I want to fight for what is good for us. After they tortured my brother in prison, my father was able to get him out into this country. And we were sad but very happy knowing that he was not going to have any other issues and he was not going to be tortured again. He finally came in and had a great life here. We just miss him and come to find out that everything he fought for, it was not worth it. We believe on somebody trying to make changes and trying to make things better, and what he created is actually is taken away from everybody and leave everybody poor, is what Cuba became. Everybody after Castro took over became poor. Nobody have anything, everybody have the same thing. Fidel Castro made their life, the Cuban people's life, miserable. They don't have anything, they don't have any money. A Cuban, an educated person with a master, we probably make about $23 a month. With that $23, they cannot go out to any Divisa store because a Coke will cost him one CUC, which is $1. So they won't be able to spend any money on that. The money that they have is only for paying the light, the electricity, paying the telephone bill if they have a telephone. Very few people in Cuba have telephone. They buy through a little book that they give you, and you have to go to the store when the rice came in, and you have to buy a pound of rice for the whole family. It's a miserable life. He destroyed the life of the Cuban people. Cuba was a beautiful country. When I went back to Cuba after 30 years of being away, I did not recognize Cuba. I was thinking I was in a third country. I did not see anything like it was before. It was like a third world country. They didn't have anything. The houses were destroyed. Furniture, I recall sitting in a couch that have holes in it. And when I went to sleep, I recall, I'm telling you, I sleep in a bed that I don't know how could it fall asleep there. It was so hard that nobody can move out of there. They don't have anything to eat. You see the little mouses trying to get to the beans because they're hungry too. Those little animals are hungry. It's a very sad situation. The Cuban people are suffering for not having what anybody can have in a free, with liberty in a free country like the United States. When I became fighting against Castro and the Cuban Revolution, is when I realized that things are changing, tremendously changing in Cuba. It was not like he was saying he was going to be. It was not the life full of liberty and expressions. You could say whatever you want. You could do not what you want was in the rise of the people to do. But everything was different. It was not what you think it was. So it makes us more miserable living in a country where you don't have the right to express your feeling or the liberties to be able to be yourself, and being able to say I want to go to Miami right now, or I want to talk about what I like about the government don't like. It changed our life completely.
Talk about being put in jail in Cuba.
I was put in jail 2 or 3 times by just being myself. just as a student that was full of life, that enjoyed. Of course, they couldn't find anything in me anytime they picked me up, but I recall I was sitting on a porch of a house, and one night the militia come in. 5 guys got out of the jeep, got me, grabbed me from my hands. Say, "You're being picked up. We're taking you to jail," and picking me up and taking me. And I said, "What's the reason?" "No reason. It's just because we want to." And being thrown in the floor. And I recall in the middle of the night, they were passing coffee in a little can, and they were from one mouth to another one passing the coffee, and I said, "I'm passing the coffee." I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was there for 2 or 3 days. And there were teachers. My mother, I recall being my mother outside crying to see me, and they did not allow them to even know that I was there, even though she heard my voice, because we were always screaming inside of the jail, inside of the cells.
Talk about going to jail with your 2 best friends.
Actually, my 2 best friends, it's interesting. They both came to United States.
My 2 best friends who went to jail with me,
Okay.
and then tell them about.
Well, they did not go to jail with me, so
Okay, well then,
Yeah.
but
yes,
about,
right. That instance, I recall one time my two best friend that came to this country after I left, they were picked up and put in jail. One of them was put in a cell with a dead man. It's a dark cell with a dead man on the bottom floor. One of them have to go up to the bed. It's a bunk bed, and she slept on the top of it. But she said there's somebody underneath, and I need to wake this guy up and see what's going on. This person up. It was real dark. She couldn't see anything. So come to find out after 3 days, and the guy not moved. She tried to wake him up, and the guy was dead. So she started screaming inside, and they finally took that guy out, and they left it in there. My other friend was put in a TB hospital, a hospital for people with tuberculosis, and she was there for 364 days. She didn't caught tuberculosis. She was actually a person with a lot of faith, and she died. She died in our city in Dallas a few years back. But it was is that group of people. They also in their house have people that were hiding from Castro, and they were able to get somebody to get him out of the country. And the people that they were getting out actually was part of Castro's people, and each one of them was killed when they picked him up. My feelings was when I was in jail in Cuba. My feeling was feeling afraid. I was afraid that my mother will have a bad time not knowing where I was. I was ready to go after these guys, and if they would say something to me, I will answer back to them. I felt like fighting for my rights, fighting. And it was a mixed emotion that I was having inside of that cell, knowing that I could do something, I could not do it because my hands were tied. I couldn't do anything. But at the same time, I felt what's going on with my mother. What happened to my mother if I don't get out of here?
talk about how they treated you in jail.
They treated me very poor. In jail, I was, yeah,
In jail, I was treated very poorly.
right. In jail, I was treated very poorly. They try to put lights in your face so you can talk. They try to, a whole bunch of people talking to you at the same time. They ask you questions after question. They repeat the question. It was very devastated interviews that they were interrogation that they went through, and you had to answer. You didn't have any choice. It was kind of scary. They didn't give you time to do anything. If you needed to go to the bathroom, they do it there. It was a miserable situation inside of the jails. Actually, I recall when I escaped Cuba to come to United States. Again, I was in the hills fighting. I had my rifle, and I was ready to do whatever was necessary to survive. And my father was able to get me a passport. I have a visa that my brother have been able to get for me to be able to go to the University of Austin. And I went to, he was able to get me out of the hills. I came back to the city in the middle of the night. Next morning, they took me in a car, and I was very quiet sitting in the back of the car. They took me to Havana, and one of my friends was with me, and I went over to the airport, and when we present my passport, they said, hey, this is not right. If this letter says something else, you'll be able to leave. And I said, well, that's illegal, and I'm not going to do that. So we went back, and I said to my father, stay here. I'm going to go with my friend, and we took a taxi, and she had beautiful handwriting. So she changed all the letters to what it needed to say. We went around in the taxi, did a couple of round blocks, and we came back. Came back to the airport. We threw the passport in the top of the table, and the first person they called, it was my name. And when they saw the passport, they stamp it and say, go. So I never forget that day. That was a day full of emotions because I knew I was not going to see my mother again, and I don't know when I would see it again. So I remember they put me inside of a glass door. I couldn't talk, couldn't say anything to them, couldn't kiss them goodbye. So we were at the windows, at the glass, crying, looking at each other, and that was the last time I was be able to see them. So we got to Miami, and my mother was devastated. My mother was crying, and my friend was crying, my father, and I remember when I got to Miami, they wouldn't let me out of the place. They were asking if anybody came in with false paper to please say so. So I wouldn't talk, and I say, no, if I say that I came in with false paper, they're going to send me back to Cuba, so I wouldn't talk. So it went past, about an hour passed, and they came and got me and said, come with us. So I said, I know you have false papers, and that was the end of the story. They was there for about 5 more hours. They let me out. I've stayed in Miami for a week with some dear friend of ours.
Talk about how you felt.
When I got to United States and I put my feet in the ground, I felt that it was the most wonderful thing I could experience, being free, being able to look around and say, oh my God, I'm free. I'm out of this tortured country that kept me behind on everything. I was so happy to be in this country. My life became a new life. I was very sad of leaving my parents behind, but I was happy to be in a free country.
Talk about your first job when you got
Very interesting. There's always an opportunity for anybody that want to find a job in this country. And I recall my first job was at El Phoenix restaurant, El Chico restaurant. And the only thing I could say, do you want a booth or a table? And that's all I could say. So if they said I want a glass of water, I said a booth or a table. And that was it. I couldn't say anything else. But I learned. From there, I decided I wanted to have a job at a bank, that I could do it. I knew I could do it. I could learn the language. And I went to the bank that was close to my house. And, well, we first lived in Austin, but when we came to Dallas, and I went to this bank and I said, somebody got to have to listen. I want to learn. I want to be somebody. I want to show that I can get somebody. We're in a free country. We can do whatever we want to. So I went to this bank, and one of the things on the application is to draw a picture of where you see yourself. So I drew a baseball field, and I fill out the bases, and I was this little person running, trying to get to home. And I just went, opened my hands and said, help me. So the guy, I recall the president of the bank, and he came and talked to me and asked me, and said, what do you want? And I said, I want somebody to help me. I want somebody to give me the opportunity. I know I can do this job. And he said, what about the English? And I said, I will learn. So he gave me a job as a proof operator. I walked to work, and I became a proof operator. And from there, I did every single job in the bank, learned the language. I remember when I was talking to somebody on the phone, asking somebody, help me, what do I say now? And they would tell me, say this. What about if they ask me some other question? Well, you listen. And that's how I learned. And I became a vice president of the bank. And I'm very proud of that. Only in this country you can do that. When I have my daughter, Bibi, at the age of 22, I found that I had the most wonderful thing God have given me, which is the precious little baby in my hands. I wanted a little boy really bad. Instead, she gave me a little girl. He gave me a little girl. I adore that little girl since the first day she opened her eyes. She was my life. She was everything that I had. I had to, after years, I had to end up being a single mother. And the only thing I thought is I have to work very, very hard to give her the best life I could. I have to be the father, the mother, and everything to her. So it took me working many hours, sometimes working day and night, until my parents came into this country, and I had the help that I needed to continue to raise her. I remember working with my father at night to have more money, because now there were more people in the house, and I have to earn more to be able to give him a good life. And it was difficult, and end up working day and night to try to give her the best I could, and I did. I feel very good having given her, and having to see her today as a mother, and knowing what a wonderful mother she is. It makes me very happy. I'm very proud of raising my daughter the way I did. When my parents came into the United States, it was a form that they had to adapt to complete to a different country, and not speaking the language was very difficult, even though I found my father many times playing dominoes with the neighbors and not speaking the language, but I guess dominoes is a game, and anybody can play a game without speaking the language. But it was difficult, having to take care of them. My father actually became worse by the dates, and we have to take care of him until he passed, as well as my mother, who passed 7 years after he did. And their life was a happy life. We enjoyed being together with the family. I remember when Audrey was born and seeing my mother holding Audrey, and she didn't know who she was because she lost her mind. She had Alzheimer's, but it was a wonderful moment having my parents here, and they're helping to the last minute. They were great. I recall one day, my nephew, when Ted went to Princeton, and I have told all my kids, no matter what it is, no matter what you do, I'm always here for you. Call me. I don't care if you do something wrong. I'm a person that you can call at any time of the night or day. So I recall one night, Ted called me. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. And my brother and his wife have lost all the money they have, and he needed some money. He had to pay $2,000 back. And I said, how do I do this? Ted said, I need some money. Would you be able to help me out? And I said, I tell you what, I fly first thing in the morning. Don't worry about it. I'll be there first thing in the morning with the money. And he said, no, I don't want you to come in. I want you to wire me the money. I just want to show them that I can pay them back right away. So I said, okay, Ted, I'm going to make you a loan. I don't have any money. I'm a single mother, but I'm going to make you a loan, and you got to pay me back $100 every month until you paid everything back. Well, he was such a wonderful guy, and I wired the money, and I want you all to know that Ted paid me every bit of the money back, which as of today, I have never cashed a single money order that he sent me. But he paid every bit of the money back. I was there for him. I'm glad I was there for him, as I will be for him when he get older. And I'm a little old lady, but he can always call me at any time. When I was 22 and a half, my daughter, I think I was precious in my life. God have given me a beautiful gift, the gift of having a daughter, which is the most wonderful thing God have given me. I wanted a little boy, but instead she gave me this precious girl that I was proud, very proud to have. My life changed and I became a single mother, but I knew that I have the opportunity to work to give her a life that she needed to have, because I wanted to give her a life with the being in this country and give her having the opportunity to become somebody and give her the best life I could. And I've been able to see that after having her kids and see what a wonderful mother she is and what a great life she's given her kids together with her husband.
Talk about being raised by your mom.
Look, being raised by my mother was quite interesting. This is a woman who is very stoic and very strong and very nurturing as well. And as a single mother, I didn't realize that I was supposed to have a dad in the house or anything like that, because she was everything to me. And she always instilled in me a desire to want to do more. And I looked up to her. I didn't have a little brother in the house or a little sister to look up to. It was my mom was my hero. I knew a little bit of the story of her past, of what she had gone through in Cuba when I was younger, and I knew, you know what, Mommy's always taught me to dust off, get up, and you go. There's no sitting around and crying and not getting things done. She gave me everything. I didn't realize that I came from a single mom household. I didn't have the brand new everything that all the other kids had, but I had security, and I had a desire to always do better because of what she instilled in me. She's a strong woman, and it's been an incredible journey. My name is Bibi Loyola, and I am the cousin of Ted Cruz. He's my baby cousin. I'm 5 years older than he is, although he tries to kid around that I look younger than he, but I am his older cousin. We grew up like brother and sister. I was an only child, and he was always around. I can't remember a time where I didn't spend a holiday or a special event together, and he was my little sidekick that I could fool around with and play dress up with, and did all those big sister things too. And we are very, very close. I consider him my brother. I'm the auntie to his beautiful daughters. He's my kids' uncle, and we have a very close relationship. I remember when we were young, Ted and I would have our holidays together, and most kids listen to stories of Huck Finn and the adventures of these kids doing things. And Ted and I would literally sit at the feet of my grandparents and my mother and my uncle, and we would hear the adventures of their life growing up in this beautiful country where it was ocean and they could fish and they had all these wonderful freedoms, to only one day have someone come to the country and change the destiny of our family and the legacy of our family. And Ted and I would listen to these stories. And I remember we'd go to the back room after we'd play, and I would say, well, I'm going to be strong just like them. And Ted would say, I'm going to fight for the freedom. I'm going to be a freedom fighter. Come to know after so many years to realize that he's picked up the torch of my family's legacy and carried it on here to the United States to fight, literally fight for the freedoms that we have here in the United States. It's incredible. Yo soy Bibi Loyola y soy la prima de Ted Cruz. Y cuando yo era niña, era hija única y nunca supe que era hija única porque siempre estaba con mi primo. Siempre estábamos juntos en todos los eventos importantes en nuestras vidas y he crecido con él como si fuera mi hermano. Y gracias a Dios que tengo esa experiencia con él. Yo tengo 5 años mayor que él, soy mayor que él y él era mi hermanito que siempre jugaba con él, siempre hacía todas las maldades con él de niños. Y me acuerdo cuando teníamos esos eventos familiares, él y yo nos sentábamos en las piernas de mis abuelos, de mi madre, de mi tío, y escuchábamos esas historias tan importantes de las vidas de ellos, de las cosas que ellos hacían en una Cuba que estaba libre y bella y preciosa en ese tiempo. Y cuando llegó Fidel, las cosas cambiaron. Y nosotros escuchábamos las historias de las experiencias que ellos tenían, que fueron tan difíciles, tratando de salir de ese país para encontrar sus libertades otra vez. Y escuchábamos de las historias de cuando ellos salieron y llegaron a los Estados Unidos y las luchas que ellos pasaron para llegar a donde están hoy. Y estábamos muy orgullosos de niños. Y me acuerdo que Ted y yo nos metíamos en el cuarto después de las historias esas y él decía, bueno, yo voy a luchar como mi abuelo y como mis padres lucharon en Cuba. Y estoy tan orgullosa de él, que él llegó a los Estados Unidos, o que nosotros estamos aquí en los Estados Unidos, y que él ha agarrado esa antorcha de libertad y va a seguir esa lucha de libertad que tenemos aquí, y estoy muy orgullosa de él. To me, to have the first Hispanic president be Ted Cruz would be an unbelievable, incredible feat. I think that the story of our family is a story that so many people, the majority of people, have experienced coming to this country and realizing that you can achieve your dreams here. And it's a story that we can all relate to one way or the other. And I think that Ted will fight for those people and the immigrants that come here legally, that here in the United States you can achieve your dream because you are able to work and you are able to be all that you can be because of the freedoms the opportunities. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. I lost my train of thought, sorry. So, quisiera decirles a ustedes y a nosotros de hijos de inmigrantes que han venido aquí a los Estados Unidos que apoyen a Ted. Él entiende sus historias, él entiende las historias de familias inmigrantes y quisieran que pudieran, si pudieran dar una donación para apoyarlo. ¿Qué digo? Que fuera en su campaña. Quisiera pedirles a la juventud y a las personas que han llegado aquí de familias inmigrantes que apoyen a Ted Cruz y que pudieran, si pudieran dar cualquier, I'm losing. Okay, sorry. Okay, let me start all over. I'm all over. Quisiera pedirles a ustedes, hijos de inmigrantes, la juventud, que apoyen a Ted Cruz con cualquier contribución que pudieran, fuera grandemente apreciada. Él entiende Él entiende su sueño, él entiende la historia de nuestras familias llegando aquí. Él va a poder ayudarlos a llegar al sueño de la libertad y puede ayudarlos en... Ted is a compassionate person. He truly believes in helping people and helping people get a step up in the world. The story of teaching a man how to fish so he can provide for his family. That is truly Ted's dream, starting with the youth, of giving them every opportunity that they can have in their hands in order for them to achieve the American dream. Everyone has a chance. And Ted truly believes that because of the compassion in his heart. He sees in people what they may not see in themselves. And he has a gift in the way of explaining and helping you achieve your dreams as well.